Hi, everyone. This is Megan.
And this is Steven.
And this is the Synchrony Podcast, where we talk about transforming apostolic dating culture and ending loneliness in the church.
Yep. And guess what?
What?
I still have my headphones on.
Oh, man. We are creatures of habit.
It's okay. I do that for all those who don't care. I put on those headphones to check my audio, check the audio levels of everything. And
You literally just lost everyone who wasn't like a sound
that's okay.
nerd.
All two of you out there.
Yeah. You've done, honestly, like just gratitude moment. You've done such an amazing job of learning how to do all of this stuff in a very short amount of time. I'm in awe of your ability to like pick up new skills.
Well, thank you, babe.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the appreciation.
I'm glad. Hope you feel appreciated.
Yeah. Speaking of gratitude, Cafe 117.
Cafe 117. Shout out to our friends Dave and Jessica Chandrup. You guys have been hearing us talk about them and their amazing coffee company for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we just put in another order.
I just got a subscription.
That's right.
I was like, I do not have the executive function to remember to supply myself with this coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are, as a reminder for those of you who don't know, they are two amazing apostolic leaders, thought leaders. They've been actively involved in missions. They have a podcast called The Good Question Show. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. And they have a coffee company called Cafe 117, which roasts amazing, roasted to order, high quality coffee, ships very, very quickly to you. They have a variety of single origin coffees and blends, and we can attest that their coffee is delicious. And a large portion of their profits, I think like 20%, go directly to Compassion Services International, which is a missions, incredible, a missions organization that funds disaster relief. So I know right now the Caribbean and the Gulf is reeling from the impact.
Jamaica.
Yeah, and
wrecked,
Texas and Arkansas. There's been tornadoes like crazy. I hope everyone out there is safe. But it's so important for us to have organizations like this that have the funding and have the means to be able to just go when they need to go.
Yep.
So if you are a coffee drinker, then do some good with your coffee drinking. Support our friends at Cafe 117 and check out the link in our show notes so that you can get yourself a discount.
I mean, if you're going to be addicted, you might as well have your addiction go to good cause.
Right. As I was making my coffee this morning, I'm like, I am drinking this to support mission.
Yeah.
That is the lie that I told myself, but it made me feel better.
That's right. As you're trying to get caffeinated before your nerves wake up and your kids
I know.
Screaming.
Yeah. Anyway, we're grateful to the Chandrups for their support. They're just awesome people. And I think we talked about this a second ago, babe, before we got on, but this is just going to be an episode where we spend a lot of time kind of just like in gratitude.
Yeah, and reflection.
Yeah. It's an important occasion. What's leading question?
I'm just kidding. I actually remember the time.
Yeah.
It is our 1 year anniversary of starting the Synchrony Project.
Yeah. So a couple of days ago, a year ago was our very first Synchrony consultation. So the first ever person that we sat down with and interviewed, who is still actively involved in the project. And I don't know if I could have ever imagined it being what it is right now a year ago. I mean, like I had hopes, but we had just started out, we had this rudimentary version of our survey, and I remember my notes for that first consultation were like all over the place.
Well, before that, what's funny is I remember one day we were driving in the car on our way to the daughter work.
For context, we helped plan a church.
Yep.
Our church planted a daughter work.
It was an hour away from us, and we would drive an hour to and from there. And that was me and Megan had a lot of these conversations you hear about on our podcast, very similarly in the car.
Yeah, it was a really wonderful experience to go do that work.
But I remember you saying, "Hey, babe, I have a crazy idea," and I'm used to hearing her crazy ideas
all the time.
But she's like, "I think I want to try to start a matchmaking service." And I was like, "All right, please explain." Well, but then it was birthed from there, though. And like when she told me the concept and the the structure of it and the foundation of it, I was like, this is needed. This could work. At first, you did not believe any of my compliments of the idea.
I really didn't, because I mean, one, I'm a pessimist. Like, of the two of us in our relationship,
I'm very much the optimist.
Right. Steven is like, yes, dream big, shoot for the moon. And I'm like, this is the list of 200 bad things that could go wrong with this idea. And that's how we balance each other out. Steven is the dream builder and I am the dream crusher.
That's
and
right.
It works. So I had this crazy dream and I was already like, there's no, it's not going to work. But the funniest part is, like, I had been low key joking about apostolic matchmaking for years. This was something that when I was in college, my close friends and I, who were all studying like sociology, anthropology, like we were in all the social science spaces.
Yeah.
We were learning about things like marriage patterns and behaviors and how different cultures chose partners.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need matchmakers in my church. Like, it was one of those things that we kind of laughed about as like, we need someone to do this. But I'd never honestly considered doing it.
Yeah.
Like, myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the Lord, I guess, made the idea like crystallize into like, oh, here's the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, one day it was just like, no, I think we could actually make this happen.
Yeah.
And if we had the right mechanisms set up, we could counsel people and guide people into these encounters that might lead to a relationship. It's crazy.
I know. And honestly, so fast forwarding a little forward after that conversation.
Hold on. One thing that should have told me that it was something big and real is that I am the world's, well, I want to say that I'm a bit cheap, right? Like I'm weird about spending money. Like you're
frugal.
I'm frugal, but I'm sometimes I'm a little bit like, I don't want to say tight-fisted because I like to give money.
Yeah.
But I get really nervous about spending large sums of money or moderate sums of money just randomly. I just get, I'm a saver by nature. That day, I was like, we're buying the domain.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're buying the domain. I'm starting the website. I'm getting our Squarespace set up, like, that day.
Yep.
And I was kind of watching myself from, like, I was having, like, a, sort of a third person out of body perspective. Like, what am I doing?
Well, I'm usually the entrepreneur trying to, like, say, babe, let's start this side business. Let's start this side business.
Right.
And Megan's like, no, maybe, potential, no.
Right.
And so seeing
crusher.
her be on the other side of the fence, I was like, man.
Yeah, it was just different.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, so fast forward where you're going.
Yeah, so fast forward, and we're starting to ask close friends about thinking if this idea is crazy or not. And we kept on getting person after person after person saying, no, this is absolutely needed.
Yeah.
And then we would ask single friends, we'd ask married friends, we would ask ministers, we asked people we respected, and they would all with a resounding yes, or there's going to be complications, but yes, like this is absolutely needed.
And people had questions, obviously.
Sure. After they had full background and like the plan that the trajectory we were trying to go for.
Right. But I think the thing that told us that it had legs was that nobody suggested that it wasn't needed. Like you said, like anyone who had been involved in ministry at all could see that there was this gap.
Yep.
By the way, shout out to Jennifer and Johnny Payton.
Oh yeah.
Who we love, and we've talked about them on the podcast before, and they just have this way of like parachuting into our lives in these important moments and like shoring us up and building us up. And they are, I hope we get to talk to them on the podcast one day.
Absolutely.
We've talked about it, and they have a little baby and, busy lives in ministry and everything else, but we're going to have to sit down with them one day because they are so values aligned and their story is really cool. But they were some of our biggest supporters in this from the get-go, helping us understand how to navigate the process and giving us suggestions and recommendations and using their network of people that they know.
Yep.
They were just huge.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
We love you guys.
So with seeking counsel during this process, Adam and Karissa King happened to be in Gainesville at a marriage conference that they were putting at our church.
Yeah.
And
of Dear Young Married Couple.
Yeah, Dear Young Married Couple. And the year prior, or 2 years prior, we had played disc golf with Adam.
Yeah, so they had done a marriage retreat here before.
Yeah.
Our church was lucky enough to have them come twice, which
is fantastic.
Yeah, shout out to our church organizers who did that because they were very hard to schedule with. They had a packed schedule. So way before the Synchrony Project was ever a thing, you and Adam had kind of connected over disc golf.
Yeah, we had connected over disc golf, and he was at a hotel, didn't have a rental, or he gave the rental car to his wife, and so I picked him up and dropped him off from the hotel. And I said to myself on the way back, I'm like, I'm going to pick Adam's brain to see if this is a viable idea, and I really respect his opinion. And they're already running a business that is not obviously with dealing with singles, but dealing with marriage.
Yeah, there's a parallel because, to put all the cards on the table, like what we're doing, we feel that it is both a ministry, but it's also an enterprise, right? And we want it to function that way. We want it to have the infrastructure of a well thought out, well planned business. It's kind of that concept of like who builds a tower without first counting up the cost, right? Like we really wanted to have the insight of someone who had built something like this with a similar model.
And they had been doing it already for almost a decade at this point by the time I talked to them.
Yeah.
And so when I told him about it, whether he wanted to hear about it or not, sorry, Adam, for cornering you if you hear this, but he immediately goes, I see his brain start his cogs start spinning, and he's like, this could work.
And Adam is not the kind of person in our interactions with the Kings. Like one thing we've learned is that Adam will give it to you straight.
Yeah, that's why I knew he would tell me if it was a bad idea or not.
Yeah, one of the most valuable forms of his mentorship is that he will call you out if you're making an excuse.
Yeah.
Or if you're selling yourself short. He'll be like, I don't believe in that excuse.
Yeah. He goes, that's a really good excuse. And I'm like, well, you're right.
Yeah, they're both incredible, and they balance each other so well. But so to hear him say that was really meaningful.
And
not that I was there. I was not.
No,
in the car
but still, I came back and told her that, and it was still meaningful. But so from that point forward, we're like, okay, this is real. This is happening.
I think we actually talked to Pastor and Sister Tony before the Kings got there.
Oh yeah, you're right. We totally did.
Yeah. So the way that worked, oh man. We went out to dinner with them, and really our intention was we were kind of in this moment of a bit of a lull we were seeing a lull in kind of our ministerial involvement coming up. So we had been serving at this daughter work for 2 years, which was amazing. And we knew when we joined that team that it was going to be a temporary appointment.
Yeah. Well, at this point, the daughter work was autonomous now.
Yeah, too. They had become an autonomous church, and were just thriving. And we had kind of helped set up the infrastructure and had worked with them for that period of time.
Yeah.
But we knew that chapter was coming to a close. They were well developed, and we knew that wasn't going to be our home church. We didn't feel a release to just go be part of that congregation for forever. So we had a sense of like, okay, in the next few months we're going to be coming back, and we weren't really sure, what was coming next. So we sat down with Pastor and Sister Tony to talk about just what they kind of needed us to be doing, right? Yeah. What opportunities there were, what kind of work they needed help with, so that we could sort of plan accordingly. And we decided we were going to bring up this idea.
Yeah. You had it as the bullet point, D at the very end of it. Yeah. You're like, by the way.
I was terrified. I think you had to actually be the one to sort of
oh yeah, I was gung-ho about
break the ice about it. Because I was just like, they're going to tell me I'm crazy. Yeah. I was just...
This whole time, Megan's thinking that that's the reaction we're going to get.
Yeah, because it is a weird concept, right? It's new.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that I was really, I could tell, I already was so in love with this idea and so passionate about it. And I was starting to really see the need so clearly. It was like this light bulb had come on in my brain, and suddenly I'm seeing all these single people at various stages in their singleness and in the struggle of that, right? Yeah. It was like they just started sticking out to me.
Yeah, there's 2 to 3 dozen personally that we knew. Yeah. That we were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it just became so evident, and I was starting to put the pieces together of all the different pieces that had kind of led to the patterns we were seeing in the dating culture.
Yeah.
So I was already kind of consumed by this idea.
Oh, yeah.
And so
it was your baby.
Right. And so putting it up in front of Pastor and Sister Tony felt like a huge risk, because I was totally expecting like them to tear it apart or shoot it down.
Yeah.
Or
well, we went there that night with the idea, Megan and I had talked about it before, that if Pastor says this is not a good idea, that we were going to drop it completely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like we were fully prepared to drop it like a hot cake, even if we didn't want to.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and brought it up to, like, hey, Brother Tony, we have an idea that we wanted to run by you.
Yeah. So Stephen is like, no, what you said was, so Megan has this idea, and you like turned to me, and
well, I don't want to take credit for your brain baby.
No, which I appreciated, but it was also very much like a push me out of the nest kind of a situation.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Megan, be uncomfortable and talk about yourself for a second.
Yeah. So I kind of just started like brain dumping this whole idea, and I'm watching their faces, and immediately I can see the wheels start turning.
Yep.
And Pastor pulls a napkin over and starts like jotting down notes on a napkin. And I kind of got to the end of my spiel, and I think it was Sister Tony looked at me and said, there is somebody in every church that we preach in, because they evangelize all the time, right? Every church that we preach in, there's somebody who needs this.
Yeah.
And it was like immediately, they were both on the same page about it quickly.
Yeah.
And they asked us good questions, and they kind of sussed out, like, is this wise? You know, I mean, they kind of took us through a risk assessment there.
Yeah. And they even talked about the business side of it too. They're like, is this a viable, like, is this going to suck you dry?
Right.
Time investment wise, are you going to be able to like replace income? And we talked about that. We talked about everything. And he's like, this is awesome.
Yeah. They immediately got on board. And when I tell you that, like, you know, because I was still very much unsure in myself. Like I knew what I was feeling and I was excited about it, but I had become really very mistrustful of my instincts, I think, over the years about, from experience of getting myself into trouble of like pushing forward something like a big social initiative, right? Like I was just nervous about it. And to see their overwhelming support immediately.
Yeah.
And our pastor and Sister Tony both have just championed this project from the beginning. Like, and, you know, even something as small as like Pastor resharing some of our stuff on social media.
Yeah. Or randomly sending us text messages.
It's just been so encouraging and so, just affirming, because we never would want to step outside of the mantle of our leadership. It was so important for us to have that support.
Yeah.
But also just that he thinks about it, you know, and is helping to kind of shape the conversations around it. We're so grateful.
Yeah. So a part of this episode is like to try to show gratitude and reflection. Mm-hmm. But me and Megan personally want to say thank you, Brother and Sister Tony, for being such big supporters of us.
Yeah, it's monumental.
Like,
and
you literally made this happen. Because if you would have said no, we wouldn't have done it.
100%. So with their blessing, that kind of lit the fire, I think.
Yeah.
Like then it was like, okay, let's put rubber to the road.
The
and
world is our oyster at this point.
Right. That's when we really started seeking out people to do consultations and trying to get the ball rolling.
Like play test it and start word of mouth and.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had very soon after we had our first match happen.
Yeah, it wasn't long after.
No, it happened very
quickly. Within the first couple of weeks.
Yeah. And that's still an ongoing thing, which is kind of cool to see.
That is cool.
But you know, it was two very young people, right?
Yeah.
Very, very young, very early. I think they were both 21, so our lowest limit, which was surprising to me because I think I had expected more of a response early on from people in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
But they were both so mature and so interested in the values-driven approach and just wanting to not do it the normal way. So, that was our first match conversation, and we just started meeting some really amazing people. And for the first 9 months that we were doing this, it was 100% free.
Yeah.
So for those of you who didn't know, we had a long beta testing period where
we wanted to see if the approach was viable.
Yeah, and it was something where, you know, again, we knew that we were going to need to iterate on our first process, right?
Yeah.
And things like what we asked in the consultation and even some of the questions on the survey evolved very quickly based on feedback that we got from different people. How
and we
ran,
encourage all of the people participating in this to give us feedback.
Right. How we ran the dates changed a little bit. And we just had to get like our logistical lives together of like, okay, calendars and automated notifications and all the little like, stuff that happens behind the scenes. So for 9 months, we did it for free, just to kind of test it out. And by the end of that 9 months, we were like, yeah, like this could work. We had several matches kind of under our belts, and we were getting, I think at that point, close to like the 200 person mark of the number of people that we had surveyed. Or no, I guess when we went live, it was 300.
No, it was so December. I remember New Year's. Like the day after New Year's, it like grew by like 100 people.
That was wild.
It was like overnight, over the course of a couple nights, it had grown from like 175 to like almost 200. To almost 400 people. It was insane.
Yeah, I remember we had this like running joke that like everyone's New Year's resolution was to get married.
Yeah, it was in social media. It was sharing and stuff like that. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But those surveys were really valuable, and we did an episode on the podcast. One of the episodes.
It was I think it was like episode 4, the one of what those 300 people taught us.
Yeah. It was really, really cool experience.
So thank you, before we move on from that, like thank you to those people that were early adopters.
Yeah.
Because they tried something completely new and untested and were willing to just like trust us to do something unprecedented. And I mean, if they hadn't been brave enough to give it a shot, then we wouldn't have been able to do this.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool because we were nervous that people were willing to do it for free, but people weren't willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so a big jump for us, like we had no one had been married yet.
Mm-hmm.
We had like probably a half a dozen couples, like whether they were officially dating or unofficially talking, like to see if they wanted to go further in their relationship. Like we had that proof, but we hadn't had like proof in the pudding yet, And the really, really cool thing is when we decided to put in a pricing structure, we had something like a 75% conversion rate.
Yeah, people got on board.
It was insane. I was like setting my expectations for like 25%. I was setting them really low.
Right. And the reasons for that too, we were like, our long-term goal here, for context, for anyone who's just kind of coming into the project and wondering like what our aims are, we'd love to be able to dedicate most of our time to this work because I think the need is there, and not just in matching people, although I wish I had so many more hours in the day right now to actually just be matching people. But we'll get there in Jesus' name. Like God's opened up doors for us to kind of move things around in our lives and day jobs so that we'll be able to create more time and space. But, we are passionate about this, and we know that there's this need, and there's so much work to be done, not just with matching, but also in conversations around dating and healthy relationships, and helping to really, create a dating culture that's healthy and that serves the church and that cultivates healthy families and marriages. We would love to be doing that all the time, and that's far from us right now. Yeah. But the pricing structure is intended to generate availability for us to put resources out beyond just matching. Yeah. It's for us to be able to deliver courses and seminars and coaching and all kinds of things that are intended to help people at whatever stage they're in their dating process. Yep. We have so many plans and dreams, I think, for how we can shape the apostolic conversation around dating. And what we're doing right now is really just the beginning. And we feel like this is work that we could dedicate all of our time to, and it would not be wasted.
It would not. Yeah. We're super, super looking forward to seeing this grow. Because as this grows, it increases the availability for us to be able to put more of our time and energy into it. So we really just want to say thank you to our Synchrony community.
Yeah.
Because after we started charging, people started flooding in. People started coming.
Yeah.
And it's grown and grown and grown. And we made a big push recently for Operation 50/50, and the stats are growing, y'all.
And it's allowed us to do things like Operation 50/50, right? Where we can take funds from within that pool from the community and turn that into recruitment efforts to bring more matches in. And that's been working. We've had a whole bunch of guys come in the last week.
In the last week, I think we've had 6 or 7 guys come in.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah. Ladies, get ready.
Yeah. I mean, some of them I've already matched, or they're in the process of meeting someone, and I've got more on the schedule that I'm meeting with in the next week. So I'm freaking out with excitement because it seems like there's parts moving there.
Yeah, it's super cool. But what's cool is we also, as a push for this, we've also really been trying to push, of course, the podcast, the video podcast. And the reason why I'm saying this is because we notice a lot of our demographics on Instagram and Spotify. Sorry. Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yeah.
Was like 70 to 85% women to like 15% men. It was naturally very low. And so we sought counsel and other content creators, and they were saying, you got to push YouTube. It's a higher demographic of men. And we're like, okay, so that's why we started pushing for getting video podcasting out.
Despite my overwhelming hatred of being in front of a camera.
Yeah. You're doing great, babe. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, but that being said, it's true. YouTube, our demographics, I just looked today. We've had something like 4,000 impressions, and it was 89% men.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And we're like, oh, here they are. We found you.
Yeah, it's been really exciting to see that suddenly, and like we don't want to oversell it. We're not at a 50-50 ratio.
No, we're not yet. But we're in the mid-20s right now.
We have felt for so long that if we could get a group of great apostolic men who tried this and approved of it and enjoyed it and had a great experience, that it would open up the floodgates. And we're seeing that happen.
Yep.
And that's really cool because I was just even one of the guys that we matched recently. I was emailing him about his match, which was really exciting. And he was just talking about the process. And he's like, I've been telling every friend I have about this.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is, like, most people know someone who is single in their space. Most people are connected to at least a couple of other single people. And so it's really, really exciting when we start to see that proliferation of contacts and people moving in throughout the network. And it's cool because as people come into the pipeline, we hear, oh, you know this person and you know this person.
Yeah.
And we're all so tightly connected. But it's awesome. So yeah, that's been a really exciting development just in the last couple of weeks that we're starting to see that sea change of, okay, now we're getting into more of the demographics that'll give us that balance.
Yeah.
Something we need to talk about are the other apostolic thinkers and content creators that have been helping us do this.
Well, that's to say, it's starting to grow naturally, but we've also been doing a big push for talking to other content creators, and we've had a bunch of people reach out to us and want to talk to us about it,
which is awesome. So thank you, by the way, to everyone who's been putting us in touch with other podcasters or YouTubers. We're not here to be influencers.
No, by no means.
At all.
It kind of comes with the territory, but that's not our intentions.
I mean, I don't know. But by influencers, I never want us to necessarily be. This isn't about us or our lives or us as people, right?
We're gonna start vlogging.
Oh. But it's cool for us to be able to connect with other people who are passionate about speaking to apostolic culture.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And encouraging the church. And so we've had a whole series of connections. Let me see if I can remember everyone that's been involved. So first, Adam and Karissa of Dearing Married Couple.
Thank you so much, Adam and Karissa King.
You
guys are amazing.
So they had us on their podcast. That was huge for us. We talked to Jessica and David Tanderup of the Good Questions Show.
Coffee.
Love them. Cafe 117.
Which, by the way, I'm not trying to be punny,
Mm-hmm.
She does ask great questions. She really does. We both left saying, wow, she's really good at her job.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're both just gifted and so cool. So that was a great connection that we were very excited to make. Greg Hackathorn of the Hacka podcast.
He's been shouting us out.
Yeah, we've built kind of a relationship with him where we're sponsoring some of their podcast episodes, and they reach a very different community. So I believe he's an American who is now living in Australia. And so their community of listeners is very diverse and international, which has been really cool. So we built some connections through that. That's been amazing.
Our Synchrony community member who's from Australia, your odds are getting better.
Yes. And then just today, before that, we met with Anissa of the Almost Apostolic podcast.
Yes.
She was a delight.
Oh, she was a blast.
She was really fun to talk to because she represents a pretty large demographic of our community to a degree. Like, she's a successful professional single woman in her 30s and is just like, a powerhouse and a creative mind and very gifted. So it was really cool to sit down and talk to her because it felt like we were talking to someone within the community of people that we serve. And she had great questions too. And then just tonight, like, I'm still kind of reeling from this experience because it came together so quickly. Sister Angie of Divine Connection reached out to us, and she got into contact with us because of Sister Donna Moranto, who is a dear, dear friend of our family, who has known me since I was toddling around our church. And is connected to so many people in the singles community. So they had connected about the Synchrony Project, and Sister Angie reached out to us and very quickly was like, hey, let's get you looped into this episode that's coming up. So she just did a broadcast with Reverend Myron Weidman, who is phenomenal, and kind of allowed us to piggyback on that amazing ministry that he had. And so we spent almost an hour.
Was it an hour?
It was really long.
Oh my goodness.
After he wrapped up his message talking about Synchrony.
Yeah.
So thanks to everyone who tuned into that. Thank you to Sister Angie. Thank you to Brother Weidman who talked us up during that. That was crazy. I've ministered in praise teams behind him before. It was very eerie to be talking to him over a podcast. That was cool. So it just seems like all these amazing things are coming together. And just today, this was a surreal, weird moment. Two separate people in our lives who are both licensed ministers, who, like, separate friend groups, right? We know them from different places. Almost simultaneously messaged us to say, hey, in this ministers group, there are people talking about Synchrony, and sending us screenshots of this conversation that was happening in a ministers forum on Facebook.
Yeah.
Which is massive, massive for us because, like, our ministry having this as a tool and a resource.
That is our main goal for this.
Yeah, we really want pastors and leaders to see Synchrony as a tool in their toolkit to bless their saints and to encourage them. So I'm like kind of sitting here in awe of all the different doors God has opened, and I'm very grateful. Not for us personally necessarily, although I'm grateful we get to be the ones doing this, but like, I don't think I can convey effectively how I'm going to cry. Sorry.
I don't have tissues for you.
I know, we're never prepared. I don't think I'm going to be able to convey effectively how exciting and rewarding it is to see the change in people's lives when they realize that they are not going to be alone forever.
Yes.
Like, there are, if you are listening to this as a married person, there are people in your churches right now who over time have come to believe that they are going to be lonely for the rest of their lives, right? And have lost a lot of hope. And when we see people who, like they've told us, you know, like this email will stick with me for the rest of my life, right? We had one of our matches who they're in this beautiful dating relationship now. This person was widowed very tragically and suddenly, and had been with their spouse for, I think, close to 30 years.
Yeah.
And had built a ministry with them. And in this email said, I never expected to ever find love again. Like,
yeah.
I never expected to ever experience that again. And here I am. And it's just as amazing as it was the first time I fell in love with someone.
Yeah.
And to see that change happen where someone goes, I didn't think I would ever be able to get out of the loneliness. And now there's an opportunity. And like, to God be the glory. Like, none of this is happening just like because of us per se, but to be able to witness it.
It's extremely humbling.
And just so gratifying. Like, I think about the people that are parents that are matching and how that opportunity changes the story for their children.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they, you know, and it's not like we're replacing anyone's mom or dad by doing that.
No, of course not.
But the idea that we could be giving someone an opportunity to give their parents, or excuse me, to give their children a dual parent home.
Yeah.
Where they get to see an aligned couple dedicated to the work of the church, dedicated to each other, living life together, and that be their example of marriage. You know, especially if they're children who have gone through watching their parents go through a divorce, right? The healing that could come from watching a values aligned couple serve each other and serve the kingdom in front of their child. I mean,
yeah,
it's transformative.
We're getting emails almost every week where people are saying, I had lost hope.
Yeah.
There's one in particular that they said, I had lost hope that I was ever going to have an opportunity to find someone. And as a result, like, I know I'm going to have to wait for someone to match the values I'm looking for. But I now have hope again because they lived in a really rural area. Like,
yeah.
You know, so it's not like they can just drive down the street to 5 other churches that are in the area. It's like it's not easy these days to find someone of the same faith.
Right.
And so seeing emails like that fuels us, man.
Yeah.
Like the emails like the one you just talked about. Like, we just sit there and we'll cry, and it just makes us want to work till 2 a.m. and trying to match people and work on podcasting and like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And it's just it drives us to keep on going.
It really does. Okay, so I feel like we've reflected on, we've looked back over the 1 year, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about the high points.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the low points, because I want people to kind of understand what's been challenging about this.
Sure.
What's been the hardest part of this for you?
For Synchrony or personally?
I mean, both. Like, be transparent.
Probably the time investment.
Yeah.
Because we're working 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And then we come home, I have to go get the kids, and 3, sometimes 4 days a week, you've got to go to the shed and match people and do 1 to 3 consultations.
Yeah.
And work on back end stuff for business, like funneling of emails. And
yeah,
like making sure that people are still feeling involved and not feel forgotten, and like try to like keep people updated and follow up on if this person wants to go forward with this match, if this person doesn't want to go forward, that, like all the logistics of being a matchmaker and doing the actual part of matchmaking, which is super important. But that means I've been watching the kids a lot. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. But there's been days where it's been difficult.
It's a drag sometimes. I mean, Steven did not ask me to do this, and I'm gonna embarrass him on camera, but I could not be doing this if you were not 1,000% on board and pouring out 300% of your effort to make sure it happened. Sorry, you guys have to witness us just turning into puddles. There are, I've spoken to a lot of people who have become used to the idea that a man would never support their ministry and never support their initiative. And you have never been anything but vehemently supportive of this. You have been a champion of it.
I don't take compliments well. I naturally want to just make some sort of jokes out of this, but
yeah, I really appreciate it. And
I wouldn't be doing it with an empty.
You wouldn't do it just to make me happy.
I wouldn't be doing it just to make you happy. Yeah. I truly believe in this initiative, if you want to call it this project.
And there's going to be more room, as we expand, I think, for your voice to become a little bit more prominent.
Oh, I don't care about that.
Well, I do, because you balance out the discourse. It's important for people to hear from your perspective about this too.
Oh, sure.
And I think I'm excited for you to get into more of the coaching that you've been doing.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's going to be really valuable to people. But
I'm excited for the more time to be able to do that. This is a part of this that we're talking about with you guys is where we're also going, where we're heading, right? And a part of where we're trying to head towards is to where we can do this all the time for everyone.
Yeah.
And so
we're a ways away from that.
We're a ways away from it. But that's where we're wanting to do this. We're wanting to fully invest into building courses and education and eventually one day conferences. I don't know. But
dream big.
Yeah, dream big. But it's, again, going back to these emails of people just saying how much this is needed. It just it gives us the confirmations over and over again, even if we have any doubt in our mind that this is a crazy idea.
Yeah.
That we're going in the right direction.
It's huge.
All that being said, what's been the biggest challenge for you?
I think it's been twofold.
Okay.
So, one, it has been very difficult for me to become visible again.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
She says again because she just wasn't on social media for 6 years.
Well, I spent most of my teenage years and my young early 20s being very, very visible in my local congregation and ministry, in our district, in the music space a little bit. I had at one point sort of a different vision, for how I thought my life and my research was going to impact the church.
Oh, sure.
And in my pursuit of that, I was very engaged with our culture, but in kind of a different way. Very active on social media. And then I got off social media because it just kind of got toxic, and we got married and we had our children. And for a long time, it really felt like I was in this very warm, comfortable, albeit slightly grungy nest that we had made, with just our little family and just dealing with, diapers and bottles and the ins and outs of family life. Dog fur. Yeah. Dogs. Too many pets always. And so that was a really wonderful season, and I liked it to a great degree. I liked sort of being behind the scenes in a way that I had never really been before. And so to put this project out into the light and in such a vulnerable way where it's this weird and wacky kind of crazy idea about dating, I was really nervous about how that would be received. And that was it's just been very nerve-wracking for me, the whole experience.
Oh, sure.
And it continues to rack my nerves because now we're doing things like putting out videos.
Yeah.
Taken within our really messy laundry and animal fur filled home at 1 a.m, and doing things like going on podcasts and talking to people and
going to conferences.
Yeah. So it's just a complete departure from that warm, cozy nest. And I think it's time. I think the Lord timed that in the way that we needed.
Well, honestly, it's a message that needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, this isn't some controversial topic that the internet can argue over. Like, it's like, this is, everyone can see that this needs to be talked about.
Yeah. I mean, the internet will always find something to argue over with everything, but
oh, sure.
Yeah, overwhelmingly the response has been so warm, and I'm very grateful for that. But I was nervous, and and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't constantly a little paranoid about the visibility. It's
a little paranoid. Dag nabbit. Just kidding.
You sound like an 85-year-old man when you say dag nabbit.
I know.
It's just
Gee
it's something.
Willikers, Batman.
Yeah. It's just something I'm getting used to. So that's been one challenge. And the other challenge I think that is really the focus of the project right now is that I just want our services to get better for people. Like, there are people that have been in, we call it the pipeline, right? So that means someone who has, gone through their consultation and is waiting for a match. There are people who have been in that for a much longer time than I would have liked.
Yeah.
And I haven't always been great just because of the logistics that we've talked about of keeping up contact with them. Like,
oh, sure.
I would love to be checking in with them regularly and talking to them about their experiences and just making sure that they constantly felt our support.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been logistically feasible.
Yeah.
Right now.
And to clarify, they have not been forgotten about in terms of matchmaking. They just, we just haven't found someone that has fit their values.
And it's not, for us, it's a quality over quantity thing, right? We won't introduce anyone to someone who's not a good fit for what they're looking for and who couldn't be a good match for them. And that just means that until we have a larger critical mass of people, there will be people who we haven't been able to find someone for, right?
But if you're not in the pipeline, you're not going to get matched. So it's like we have people who have been very patient.
Right. So I really want their experience of waiting while we build up this larger community to be beneficial to them. And I feel like that's fallen short a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited and hopeful that as we develop more strategies to really invest in the community, that will change. We want people to feel like their interactions with Synchrony, whether it manifests in a match and a marriage or not, benefits them, right? I want them to come away from their contact with this project and feel like their experience has improved to some degree.
Yeah. What do you call it? The most informative waiting room possible.
Like, I want it to be I want the community to be the most comfortable and educational waiting room.
There it is.
Because ideally no one would be there for that long, right?
Oh, sure.
But if you are, I want it to bless you.
Yeah.
So that's where my focus is right now, and where I really feel a lot of desire for change. Like, I really want that community to be the supportive space that it needs to be to really keep people feeling seen and heard and involved while they're waiting.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that we're both trying to balance is, well, obviously we need growth because we need more people to be matchable with other people.
Yeah.
But we also want to focus inward and make sure that we're not, again, quality over quantity. It's like we're trying to make sure that the people that we already have are enjoying the process.
Yeah. Okay, last question about this.
Okay.
In our yearly reflection.
Yep.
What are you most looking forward to for the next year of Synchrony work?
Ooh, I would have to say we are currently in the process of trying to change job structures for me to be able to devote more time to the family and to Synchrony.
Yeah.
And so I will be able to do a lot more of the back end work that you don't love doing.
Love that.
And that way you can dedicate all of your time and energy when you dedicate to Synchrony to matching and to following up with dates and scheduling dates and like the stuff that you're good at and you need to do. And that way we can share the load.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
And also looking forward to spending more time with kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important.
Sorry, our kids, not just random kids.
In case that wasn't obvious. Yeah, I think it's going to be nice to bring, we're doing our best to maintain a balance of like time with kids and family life, but making those changes will even out the playing field a little bit.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you're burning the wick at both ends. I'm burning the wick at both ends. Sometimes it feels that way. So I feel like this will make it to where when you are doing Synchrony work, you are fully dedicating it to the stuff that you are amazing at.
Thanks, babe.
And I like doing weird back end work of business stuff. So
yeah, business and sound and all the
like Excel sheets excite me. So
I picked a winner.
Yeah.
So true. Get you a man who loves Excel spreadsheets, or I will do that for you if you
that's right.
need me to.
Make that one of your preferences.
Right.
He must like Excel sheets.
Yeah.
What about you?
I want to go to some weddings.
Oh, yeah, that's you.
And this is not to put pressure on anybody, but I feel like...
Oh, we are absolutely putting pressure on
No,
people.
I want people to take their time. They need to suss things out.
I'm saying putting pressure on inviting us.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you
get married through Synchrony, we are kind of expecting an invite.
Or if your guest count is too high, like at least send us the save the date so we can put your picture up somewhere. Like,
so we can send you a gift.
Yeah, because this is something that I talk about with people sometimes in their consultations, right? Most people want to date for at least 6 months before they make any kind of wedding decisions. Many people are like, I need a year of dating, right? I think that's fairly standard, you know.
Absolutely.
So we've just been doing consultations for a year.
And we have a couples that have been dating for quite a while.
Yeah. So, yeah,
we'll see.
I think that in the next year, we're going to start to see some of that investment return in marriages. And I am pumped to talk to some of those couples. I'm hoping to get some of them on the podcast.
That's actually what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Us having the time to go and fly and sit down and interview people who have gotten married through Synchrony.
Oh, that's going to be crazy.
That sounds like brain candy to me.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
No pressure to people who are potentially getting married. Like, we're not just going to show up on your front door, but that is something we would love to do because one, it's a recorded testimony of this working and of being effective. And again, this is what we're hoping for.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. So that's a big one. And yeah, I mean, I think just, cultivating a really diverse community. Like, I'm so excited and proud of the people that are already involved and are really helping to kind of make that community space warm. Yeah. But we're taking some steps to try to intentionally craft more of that. And I just think it's going to be really cool to see how people use that and what we learn from it. We're gonna change our approach as we go, but just a lot of neat developments on the horizon that I think are going to make the process more fun and enjoyable and more effective for a lot of people. Yeah.
So we're gonna start wrapping this up. I think we should make a couple shout outs to some people who have been really big supporters. Whether they're personally invested in Synchrony or not. Yeah. And they've just been a huge encouragement to us, but also they've been sharing our content like crazy. Yeah. And we just want to say thank you to them.
Absolutely.
Can you go ahead and start it off?
Yeah, so top of the list would probably be Sister Dana Green.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
She's been shouting it from the rooftops.
I love this lady. This is another one of the rare married people who just has a fire lit under her about serving single people. And
Yeah.
she's a minister's wife. They serve in the ALJC, and she's just a powerhouse. There's no other
Yeah.
word to describe her. Like, she is a force to be reckoned with and an absolute ray of sunshine. And I've loved getting to know her and working with her. She's so much fun.
Yeah. We also have Jency Proctor. Thank
Jency.
you so much. You are fantastic.
Jency, such a thought leader in the singles community and so much fun.
Yeah.
And I know that she's crazy busy and has so many demands on her time. And yet it seems like every time we have an event or every time we're doing something, she's there offering support, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Sister Donna Moranto, who
thank you.
has been a champion for us and putting us out in front of a lot of people, and talking about the good things, even though she could tell crazy stories about me when I was a teenager. She's just been talking about the project. And she has such a great way of, just connecting with people, and I'm really grateful for her.
Yeah. And again, brother and sister Tony, thank you so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also a lot of really close friends of ours that we can't go through and name every one of them, but like, thank you so much. Friends, family members. It has been
people that have babysat our children on short notice so that we could go to an event or get on a podcast together.
Gigi, Papa, Emmy, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Our parents and grandparents that have jumped in to help. Thank you to the married couples that are friends of ours who latched onto this project and believe in it, and who will, they'll stop and talk to us about their thoughts on the project, and they'll give us feedback, and they'll ask really good critical questions that help us think about our ideas more. They're just awesome. And they've been, we have a cloud of people that will allow us to sit down and pick their brains. And that's been immeasurably helpful. And will challenge us and will, help us figure out the risk of something. And that's just been huge.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it.
1 whole year.
Yep.
Lots more to go.
1 year.
We should stop and make some announcements before we wrap up entirely.
Let's make them very quick because we're already over an hour.
Oh boy. Okay. So by the time this airs, we will only have 2.5 weeks left, I think, of our summer sale. So that is the $75 off sale that you can get on your consultation fee if you enter the code summer_24 at checkout, or if you just go to our website, synchronyproject.com, and click the register button, it'll automatically populate that code in the cart for you right now. So go take advantage of that if you're still thinking about doing a consultation. Also, ending at the same time will be our Operation 50/50 initiative with the drawing. So
that's coming up soon.
Yeah. So if you are one of those people that have been referring men to us, first of all, thank you. Second of all, make sure that your referees, referrals know to put your name down or to let us know who referred them so that we can include you in that drawing. And we're planning to do that live the first week of August. Draw someone's name and send them their $1,000 prize. So very excited about that. Very grateful. I know we listed off a whole bunch of podcasts and people that we've been involved with. Please take some time to go and add them to your playlist.
Yeah, they'll be in the show notes or the description.
Yeah, and they're all amazing resources for apostolic believers. So go check them out, and just, if you're the type of person who works and does a lot of driving or commuting or whatever, fill up your playlist with stuff that's going to edify you. They're all putting out amazing content
they are.
Aimed at the church. So we are so grateful for that. Also, stay tuned for some more collaborations and conversations coming up on other shows. God just continues to surprise us with amazing doors and amazing mentors that have been stepping into the ministry of figuring out how to help us with this. And so, you'll get to meet some more of those amazing people soon. Hey.
I love you.
I love you too.
This has been a lot of fun.
It's been so much fun.
Yeah.
Doing this with you has been so much fun.
Yeah, it has. Let's get some people married.
I know. I can't wait.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.